Hello, world. This is Overtime with Terrence and Leon, a WRBI original production presented by Bruns Gutzwiller. Bruns Gutzwiller, the right choice for your next construction project, and also being brought to you by FCN Bank. FCN, building stronger communities, member FDIC. Leon, man, I'm excited about today's guest. In a lot of ways, I am. But in some ways, I'm hoping he doesn't give me too much ribbon about the Florida and Georgia wars back in the day.
Hey,
Hey,
you know what? I as much as much of a hard time as you've given me about Kentucky, I am really looking forward to everything he has to say bad about the University of Georgia.
Oh, wow.
uh, this
Well,
is going to be fun, guys. I'm going to get it from all ends today. We got one of our rivals, Kentucky, and then we got a Georgia guy. So this is going to be exciting.
well, we are talking about none other than South Ripley alum Dave Werner spending over 30 years in the athletic training department with the University of Florida, a longtime staple in that athletic department, seen just about everything, including two national titles in basketball, working with the likes of Billy Donovan, Al Horford, and even's got a couple, make it three gold medals under his belt as well. Again, we're talking about none other than Dave Werner. Dave, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. I appreciate being on. I appreciate your nice words there. I'm excited to talk to you guys. Like I'd mentioned, I've listened to a bunch of your shows now, and you all are doing a really good job there.
Well, we definitely
Hey, Dave, I do have to say, you told me you got promoted and you got a really good job, but I got to bust your chops a little bit. Man, you couldn't get a window view?
I'm still in the office in the training room, Leon, and you know there's not a training room in America that has a window.
That's
So,
true. That's true. You're right.
my new office, I'll be over in the football stadium, and I'll have a window over there.
so let's talk just a little bit. I mean, there's so much that I want to cover with you, Dave, because I mean your reach is pretty broad in terms of the things that you've done in athletics, particularly with Florida. Um, as I mentioned, working with Billy Donovan and Al Horford. Um, of course, Al still playing in the league in the NBA, and not just playing. We're talking meaningful minutes. They call him the old man. Just won a title with the Boston Celtics. From your vantage point, talk to me about the importance of training or a good athletic trainer in terms of an athlete's longevity.
Yeah, I think. Well, for one thing, I'm so proud of Al and what he's accomplished. We get these guys. He walked on campus, on an official visit when he was 16 or 17, and then he showed up, in Gainesville when he was 18. So you see these guys in their early years, where they're trying to figure things out. And the thing about Al is he walked on campus. He was a pro,
Mm.
and he skill wise he wasn't a pro. He's trying to figure some things out. I think he was a top 100 player, but he wasn't a McDonald's All American or a top 50 guy. I think rankings he was 80 or 90 somewhere in there. But you knew this guy was going to be successful the way he took care of his business every day. So he did everything we asked. I think for these guys, the importance of taking care of their bodies is important. And to be honest with you, it's different now than it was even 5, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
I think the education that these guys have, even before they get to our campus, they have the understanding of what they need to do. But Al showed up. He was a pro from day one, like I mentioned, and he still is. He still is. It was interesting. We were watching one of the playoff games, and after the game, I got a email from the beat writer who covers the Celtics for the Boston Globe, doing a story um, on his his ability that he's had to stay healthy and play this long. So they actually interviewed on me. Al mentioned me in his interview. So I got to do that interview with those guys, and which was fun. But Al's a tremendous worker. Don't be shocked if he plays 5 more years.
Wow.
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 Are any of those other guys still playing, whether it's overseas or anything like that?
No, that team, we had three top 10 picks. Al was the third pick to Atlanta. Corey Brewer went like number 6, I believe,
Yeah.
to Minnesota, and then Joakim Noah went 9, I believe, to the Bulls. The other 2 guys are they're done, but Al is
Wow.
he's still playing. Yeah.
So when you look at incoming freshmen, and I'm asking this question for young athletes and their parents, again, from your vantage point, Dave, what do you see lacking as the biggest thing that these kids could have or should have been working on before they get to you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because in all reality, these guys are coming in now, at least in pretty good shape. They have most of them have all been involved in some sort of strength training. Most of them have all been involved with actual nutrition, or they have an idea of nutrition. The physical part is not lacking as much anymore as just the mental part of athletics. And I think we still do a lot of stuff physically, but I think a lot of my job now is just the mindset, the mentality of where they're at. The couple of the things that are the problems now for these guys is there's an expectation of when they show up on campus of how it's going to go for them. And as soon as that expectation doesn't quite go the way they think it's going to go, or their parents or their people, issues arise. And and that's we work on that a lot. I think there's a consistency and effort that they need to learn. A lot of guys will work, a lot of guys will have good games, a lot of guys will have good stretches, but the really good players are able to work every single day, and not take a day, 2 days, 3 days off where they're not feeling good, right? You got to continue to have the consistency to be great.
Yeah. So Dave, before we get too far in advance of your career, you graduated from South Ripley High School, went on to Eastern Kentucky University. Tell us how you actually got into the world of athletic training.
Yep, this will surprise a lot of people. But in our small town of Versailles, all 1,800 of us at the time, we had a guy named Chris Smith, who graduated in the class of 1970, who was a really good player on that team that went to the semi-state. He was actually the head athletic trainer for the Tampa Bay Bucks at the time. He also was the head athletic trainer at Alabama football with Ray Perkins. He actually went into Alabama with Coach Perkins when Bear Bryant had retired. So they were kind of that next group of people that came in after Bear Bryant. And then a guy named Brian Ebel, who is one of my mentors, is the head athletic trainer with the Baltimore Orioles. So Brian was at Eastern Kentucky. He was a senior when I was a freshman at Eastern. So really, Brian got me involved in the profession. He was a dear friend of mine. It's funny that you guys had Tyler Bertram on. His dad, Doug Bertram, who was a friend of mine, and we went to school with him, and Brian were really good friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Brian actually got me a job with the Orioles. I started out in kind of minor league baseball. But those 2 guys, I ended up working with both of those guys professionally. But they were the reasons why I chose the path I did.
Okay. Now, speaking of, you were doing some name dropping there. Your time at South Ripley, did you cross paths with Tom Linkmeyer?
I did. I knew Tom really well, and he was. This Versailles is a great place.
Uh-huh.
but when you talk to any of us from for sales, we all have the same stories and we all have the same places that we've been. But he was talking about playing wiffle ball there in his backyard in front of the Dollar Barn. I used to ride my bike down that wall to the playground that he was talking about going to, and his dad would always be out there in the backyard or something. And I think if you rode through a backyard now, they'd probably shoot you. But back then, the guy said, "Hey, have a good game, Dave." So it was a different time. But when you grow up in a town like ours, all we did was it was different. Then our heroes were the basketball players at South Ripley, and
Right.
and I grew up watching Tom. He was a terrific player.
Were you involved in any of the sports there at South Ripley?
I did. I played basketball all 4 years.
Mhm.
I started there on the varsity my junior and senior year, and I played baseball my freshman and sophomore year. And then I really like to fish. I'm one of my and it's been that way my whole life. So as anyone knows that likes to fish in southeastern Indiana, spring's a good time. So I gave up baseball for catching bluegill and bass in the farm ponds around for sales. Yeah.
And
Nothing
so,
wrong with that.
Dave, I do have to say, an Eastern Kentucky guy, it's almost like you got two strikes against you. First is EKU, and now it's the Florida Gators. I mean, I don't know if I can really give you a break.
Hey, Leon, I was a graduate assistant at Louisville. I know you're from Louisville. Don't forget that. You got to give me some love on that.
Okay. I'll take one back. I'll take one back.
Yeah. I left Eastern and I was a GA there with basketball at Louisville with Coach Crum, which was two phenomenal years.
That's awesome. A lot of people don't know have forgotten about Coach Crum.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking the other day about Blue Bloods, and I think it was an old episode. And Coach Crum had 7 or 8 Final Fours, won 2 national championships, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He was really good to me.
Dave, will you? Okay, now I'm gonna take this back a little bit. And Terrence is gonna roll his eyes.
Oh goodness, here we go.
But will you let him know that there are other blue bloods except for the ones you talk about, like Duke and Kentucky. Louisville was a blue blood.
Yeah, you know what, Leon, I'm with you, Leon, on UConn's a blue blood, man. You can't not get it. You can't say it. And it's funny because the year in 2014 we went to the Final Four. We lost 3 games that year, and 2 of them were to UConn. We lost the third or fourth game of the year up at UConn on a last second shot, and then we won 30 in a row. And then UConn got us in the Final Four. So and then they beat us. Their first championship a couple years ago, they came to Gainesville and just beat the snot out of us. So, it's hard. It's hard to what they got, Leon, 6.
Yeah, they got 6.
Yeah, it's hard not to be a blue blood when you got 6 natties.
So let me ask you this: speaking of UConn, were you shocked when Hurley turns down the Lakers job to quote unquote finish what he started at UConn?
You know what? I was not shocked. I was not shocked. I think he probably, I've never been in the NBA, so anything I say, it's probably it's not an educated thing. But I think when people are looking at the Lakers, they're not looking at it's a different organization right now than it has been, I think, historically. And I think he saw what he had at UConn. We went through that here when Billy Donovan accepted the Orlando Magic job after we went back to back. Accepted it and then turned it down. I think it's hard for these guys to leave with the success they're having at this time.
Well, you talk about things being hard for the coaches, but let's focus back in your area with the athletic training. From your standpoint and your day-to-day, which sport that you get involved with, which sports do you think give you the most or gives the training room the most issues? Is it basketball or is it football?
Oh, it's definitely football. It's the nature of that sport, and injuries they have and the numbers of players. That's a really tough sport to work in our profession. It's just it's nobody wants to go out there and pound on each other every day like those guys do.
Right.
And it's our sport is tough because of the length. Basketball, men and women's basketball in college is the only sport in college athletics that goes the entire academic year. We start workouts really the first week when they get back to school, the end of August, and we don't stop till, depending on how far you go in the tournament, it could be, the middle of April, which, our term is over at the end of April. So we go the entire year. We're playing games on Thanksgiving. We're usually in a tournament somewhere. So, that takes us away from families. And then Christmas, we'll get 2 or 3 days and we're back at it, depending on what the schedule looks like after Christmas. So, football definitely day to day is a tough one.
Mhm.
I think our thing with basketball is just the length of the season. And that can kind of beat you down a little bit.
Dave, when you talk about your long career in athletic training and everything that you've done, uh, I know you talk about the national championships being an unbelievable thing, an unbelievable run, and everybody knew about that. But what would you say has been the most rewarding thing that you've been a part of when you think about it from the standpoint of an athletic trainer? And I'm going to add on to that once you give us that answer.
Yeah, yeah. We had a 10-year run there where we won 2 national championships. We went to another Final Four. I think we had 4 Elite Eights. Like, we were really rolling uh, down here at one point, which is great. For me personally, the greatest victory I've had as an athletic trainer we had a player named Keontae Johnson who
Yep.
had suffered a cardiac arrest
Mm.
during the game against Florida State. National TV. If you guys hadn't seen it, it was back in our day, Hank Gathers, right? You guys
Yep.
Yeah.
remember Hank, that
Yeah.
and it looked eerily similar. Um, so being a part of that, we myself and a couple doctors and some emergency medical people, we saved the guy's life. And it was at the beginning there. We weren't sure how things were going to end up, to be honest with you, with his health. But he made a full recovery, and there is no question in my mind. When he walked out of that hospital, that was by far and away the greatest moment of my career. He has the nicest. He's from Norfolk, Virginia. He has the nicest parents you ever want to meet. Grandmothers, uncles, everybody was around. I got to know that family. They're both retired uh, Navy. The 2 parents were in the Navy, retired from that. Just wonderful, wonderful people.
Mhm.
And to be a part of that life-saving procedure and the follow-up after that was no question my the best thing that's happened to me professionally.
Well,
And actually to kind of finish his story, he was the first player ever drafted. He was a second round pick of the Oklahoma City Thunder. First player ever drafted with that had a previous episode, cardiac arrest episode, and first player drafted that had an internal defibrillator. Um,
Mm.
so there, not only his health is terrific, but there was a little bit of a history there with what he had to endure and where he's at now.
So, Dave, you look at situations like Keontae Johnson, Bronny James. I mean, the list goes on and on. Hank Gathers, Damar Hamlin. Um, Rest in peace, Hank Gathers. But why do you think the athletic training or the medical staffs have been so successful at being able to really save these guys' lives?
Yeah, I think the training we have is really advanced now. I think the immediate ability to give treatment, right? Like everybody saw the DeVar Hamlin thing. It was in Cincinnati, and I mean they were on that within 35 seconds of the episode. So
Mm-hmm.
the immediacy of treatment for us being there, right on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And the defibrillators, the AEDs that are in place now all over everyone. You shouldn't be allowed to have athletics if you don't have an AED on site. I can tell you that should
Yeah.
be, if you have a team and you have a coach, you need an AED there. Um, that's one thing. If whoever's listening in the area there, back home, like get the AEDs in the schools. You got to have them. But I think with the training, the technology of the AED and the immediacy of personnel, we feel really good about being able to help these kids now.
Dave, when fans watch a game and you see an injury happen or a player go down and the trainers run out on the field and you sit there and you're watching television not thinking anything about what's going on, but explain a little bit to our listeners what's happening when you go out on the field and maybe yourself and your assistant are having a conversation with the athlete.
Yeah, it's just you get to the it's like anything else. You're doing a doctor's visit on the floor in front of 20,000, right? Like it's you try to figure out what's wrong. You're talking to the athlete, and then you just use your training and knowledge to take care of the situation. For us, I think in athletics, our first thing is one, making sure the kid is safe and you have the actual injury taken care of, but it immediately shifts to, okay, how can we get them back in the game, right? And that all that is just going through your head, and when you do it long enough, it becomes kind of second nature. But depending on, we had a really bad injury last year, and we made it to the SEC championship game against Auburn, and we had our center had remember the injury Paul George had.
Yeah.
He fractured his tibia and fibula, and had a
Yeah.
compound fracture of his tibia that was the bone was kind of sticking out through the skin, which is what a compound fracture is. And you were trained to take care of that, and there's emergency plans in place. We had a whole plan with the SEC tournament, the people in Nashville. If something like that happened, that was discussed way before that game ever happened. So I think the preparation for what you want to do, and then for me, I'm a relationship guy, so I know these guys before I ever get out there. I kind of know what to expect even before I get on the floor.
Dave, I will say before we go any further, people may laugh at me, but when that arena at University of Florida is jumping, it is the loudest thing you would ever be a part of. And people talk about, my wife got to experience it when we first got together. But when that place is going, that student section is equally as rowdy as what people see at a Duke game. I mean,
Yeah.
it's compliment to you guys because, I mean, the marketing group, they have the whole game just like it's like choreographed, and everything that's happening, man. They do an unbelievable job. So not only do you have a great medical staff, but you guys do it the right way on the marketing piece. And then the last thing I'll say is, when you see Scott Strickland, now I want you to say this. You tell him, say, Scott, your favorite Black person from the University of Kentucky told me to tell you that he misses you greatly.
Okay, I will do that. I actually got to call him today, so I'm going to say it just like that. No,
Dave,
that's
you
great. The O-Dome's been a good spot. I don't know if you remember, but Billy had a little red Auerbach going back then because he liked to crank up that heat, Leon. And
Yes.
then I don't know if you remember the we have an indoor swimming facility right on the other side of the gym.
Yep.
So where y'all's locker room, there's always this strong chlorine smell that's
Yeah.
kind of so we had a little old school stuff going on there for some games.
little home court advantage, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, Dave, you mentioned the physicality of football and the challenges that it creates, and we know that, right? We know about the concussions in football. I read something not that long ago that kind of surprised me that talked about how soccer has, you know, a lot more concussions than people even realize because it is a contact sport and there are no helmets. Basketball kind of falls in that same category. Are you seeing a rise of concussions with players on the floor?
You know what? We're not seeing a rise, but I tell you what we are doing, and I think it's great, is we're seeing the ability to handle those better from both the medical side and from the players themselves. At one point, they're not coming to you and saying my head hurts, I'm dizzy, whatever the concussions, the symptoms are.
Right.
They are much more educated now than they've ever been of knowing what the symptoms are, coming forward with those symptoms, letting the medical personnel know. I'm old enough to know that there's always been this thing with players. Now, they think players are soft, or they don't think players play through injuries, or they don't this or that. If and Leon will probably tell you, if you see some of these old guys that have played and see physically sometimes the shape they're in, I guarantee you they wish they would have done things differently when they played.
Yeah.
You got guys not being able to get out of bed. I don't know if you all saw the thing on ESPN about Bill Walton, that documentary they did on him. And he was sitting there. He was sitting there with the top 5 or 6 players from that Portland Trailblazers team that won a championship, and every single one of those guys had their knees and hips replaced. All 6 of them. And then the issues with the brain stuff that's going on now from the concussion things that happened in the past, like it's a different deal. These guys are much smarter, and I kind of applaud them. We want to win, and there's a level of toughness there, but like these guys have their whole lives ahead of them for being you want them to be a good dad, you want them to be a good husband. Sometimes physically, some of these guys can't do that anymore. They just can't. It's a hard deal, and I think that's the thing, Terrence. It's been the best thing that I've seen over the years is they have the ability now to understand where they're at and with symptoms and monitoring what they have with the head injuries. I don't think they've gone up, but our guys have done a much better job of understanding when they have those symptoms.
Now, Dave, I would be remiss if I did not ask you this. But have you had the amazing opportunity to attend the world's largest cocktail party?
Oh,
I'm going to tell you this, Terrence, and you may or may not believe this. I'm literally starting my 31st year at Florida. I have never been to it.
Oh my God, Dave, what are you doing?
And that's because in the fall I did college baseball here at Florida for my first 10 years.
Okay.
And we always practiced.
Mm-hmm.
That was during fall ball. Our fall ball always fell during that game. And then since I've been at basketball, we've always practiced as well. So my wife goes over. She takes our kids over. Gatorade has been really nice to us that they've allowed them to sit in their box over there in Jacksonville.
that's awesome.
So it's great for my wife. It's great for my kids. I've never done it, but I will tell you, I hope to go this year. It's the first year I haven't had to be at every practice, so I will. I do think I'll make it over this year.
Okay, I'll touch base with you afterwards.
Yeah. Have you been? Have you?
Oh
been?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I went before, so this would have been in 92, 93.
Whoa.
I went. That was the first time that I went. The second time that I was supposed to go, car breaks down on the way down, and we don't end up making it. Uh,
Yeah.
and the third time that I should have been able to make it, we called it the perfect storm. We were going to try to get in. We were going to take in 3, if not 4 games in one weekend. There was a Thursday night game, and I think it was the year that Louisville. Uh, this probably would have been a Lamar Jackson, or it could have been. It could have been Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not really sure, but anyway, Louisville was 5-0 for like the first time and whatever, and they played the Thursday night game. Saturday was going to be the cocktail party, and there was a game in there Friday. I can't remember what that Friday night game was, but we were going to try to get all 3 games in. We'd all talked about it, did all the research, and as you know, when guys try to get together on something like that, it all fell through last minute. We never could pull it off.
Yeah.
But it was going to be the greatest weekend of tailgating history, and
Yeah.
it just didn't happen.
Oh, that's great. That's great. You know, they're getting ready to renovate the stadium over in Jacksonville, so I think we're going to end up having some games on each other's campus coming up. So that will be good.
When was the last time? When's the last time it was held on a campus?
Yeah, you know what? The last time they redid the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville in '94 and '95, we played home and home.
Wow.
And that's Terrence won't like to hear this, but when Coach Spurrier were still here, we were doing all right against the Dogs back then.
Yeah,
not now, but back then we were.
Yeah, those were some. The one game I remember most during that time, Mark Richt, Georgia scored their first touchdown, and they ran the entire team, left the sidelines and everything, and they ran all the way down and started jumping up and down and stomping on the Gator in the center of the field. And boy, that just did my heart good.
That was against old Urban Meyer.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was Urban Meyer's years.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess you are right. During the Spurrier time, we didn't have a lot to talk about. But nobody in the SEC had a lot to talk about during the Spurrier years. So
that's right.
I'm not even gonna say what they did to us. It's not even. It was almost like abuse, like child abuse. I'm not even gonna say what happened.
Tell me this, Dave. Talk to me about how you got involved with USA basketball. I mentioned in the open, you've got 3 gold medals for your time with Team USA. Talk to me about how that came about.
Yeah, that was that was through Coach Donovan. He got selected to coach those teams. It was the under 18 team, the under 19 team, and then kind of back to the under 18 team. And they gave those guys at that time the ability to bring their athletic trainer or decide who they wanted to bring. And he chose me to come with him. One of the greatest experiences. We went to Brazil and played it was called the Tournament of Americas, which was the under 18, and we won that. That qualified us for the World Championships, which was in the Czech Republic. And we ended up winning that under 19 World Championship by the largest margin of victory in the history of that tournament. So we had a lot of Marcus Smart, Okafor, Justice Winslow. I think we had 7 or 8 first rounders on that team. So it was an incredible experience. I think for me, I got to meet a lot of coaches, that were there that people have been watching. I've got to become really close with Mark Few, who was an assistant on that team. Tony Bennett was the other assistant. So we had a really good staff. Shaka Smart was there, who was an assistant for us here at Florida that I knew from that time. But the committee was Roy Williams, Boeheim, Matt Painter was the head of the committee for the team. So for me, it was a great experience of just being with some guys that I've always watched on TV, right? That have been tremendous coaches. So that was one of those things that will always be a great memory.
When you got there, were you surprised or was it expected when you saw how well received basketball was globally?
Yeah, I didn't see it as much in the under 18 in Brazil. It
Hmm.
was unbelievable in Europe, like just unbelievable. The pride that those teams have in basketball over there, and
Hmm.
you guys probably have seen this. That was all created pretty much by the Dream Team when they went, that original Dream Team,
Hmm.
Sure.
that really probably changed basketball internationally. Um, but we played Croatia, we played Serbia, we played Russia. We played some teams that have a lot of really good players. Lithuania was terrific. So and they love they really want to beat the United States. And so it was a really good experience to see some of these other countries play ball.
Hey Dave, I'm gonna change lanes a little bit, and I want you to talk a little bit about the athlete, a developing athlete. We have parents that listen to this, and of course, by the guests we have, a lot of people that listen have somebody that wants to go on and play at the next level, whether it's collegiately, whether they want to become a professional baseball player, whatever it may be. As an athletic trainer, what advice would you have to up and coming athletes when you look at it through your lens?
Yeah, yeah. Like I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, Leon. I think the kids coming in now, and the kids who are in high school are so much more educated with taking care of themselves, uh, their bodies, what they eat. Strength training wasn't a thing when I was in school. Like, we had this universal machine that we kind of zipped around real fast just to say we did it. But the conditioning levels are terrific. I really think the problem now is just the mental part of it, and the expectation. I would say to parents now, and I see it with our guys, and Leon, you even talked about it on one of the episodes of the people they have in their camps.
Yeah,
Uh, I tell our guys all the time is don't let people rob you of your happiness. And I
yeah,
think I
Mm.
think when they get in, all I can speak of is Florida, and when they get here, um, they have, like I mentioned, they have this expectation of how it's going to go for them, and if it doesn't go exactly the way they think it's going to go, it's the coach's fault, the school's
hmm,
fault, it's everybody's fault. So what ends up happening is the player may be having the time of his life. He may love Florida, he may love being on this team, but the people around them are making him
yeah,
miserable. And
yeah,
and if I could say, if I could help anyone there, it would be, man, let your kids play, let them have
yeah,
fun, uh, let them enjoy the process of becoming better, and what goes into winning. Like, it may not be your turn right now, but next year you could be the guy. Like, it's that's the biggest thing I see, Leon, is the kids being miserable when they shouldn't
hmm,
be, because other people are putting pressures on them that shouldn't be happening, just shouldn't be happening. And we work with that a lot, like that. And that's not even the social media piece. And when you're at a level like this, I think the fans can be ruthless. And I've had big grown 22-year-old men come in tears because of what people have said on
Mm.
social media about them. And it's not as easy as people think. It's not as easy.
So as an athletic trainer, do you guys have things in place? I think I know the answer to this, but explain to our listeners the things that you guys have in place at a university like the University of Florida that help guys on the mental aspect of being an athlete and all the pressure that comes with it.
Yeah. When I first started at Florida in '94, we had our athletic training department, and we had our strength and conditioning coaches. That was kind of our health and performance group. Since then, we have nutritionists and dietitians. We've added a sports science department, and probably the thing that's been most helpful is our mental health and wellness department that we have started. We have a director of that area, and then we have I think 5 or 6 counselors now that work just with our athletes on their mental health. And the mental health doesn't have to be this negative connotation that a lot of people think about when you say it. Like, some of these guys just need someone to talk to about kind of the cyber bullying that takes place from fans and from people. Teaching them the understanding of, you have to know now, these kids are coming from Batesville, or they're coming from these towns, that they are the top dog.
Hmm.
That's not the case now when they come to Florida, or they go to Indiana, or they go to Purdue, or wherever they may go. It's just usually not the case, and it's hard for them to understand how to handle that, uh,
Mhm.
that next step in their lives. And we put a lot of resources into helping our kids to be able to do that. We even do it, like I've done it, where I've called a guy's mom or dad and said, "Hey, I want you to come down and be a part of these meetings.
Mhm.
With This is where your son's at. He's not doing great. He's just
Mm.
not doing great on how he's handling this right now. I think you need to come down and kind of sit in with him." So we spend a lot of time and a lot of resources to helping these kids in all aspects of their physically and mentally.
So, Dave, when you talk about that, where the expectation and the realities they don't quite match up, do you see that as being one of the catalysts that's kind of fueling uh, portal activity?
100%, 100%. Uh, that and sometimes the portal, this portal thing isn't all bad. Some guys, they're not going to play at Florida.
Hmm.
Whether it be a recruiting mistake by our coach, whether it be they just don't fit into the community on campus. They deserve the. I think they have the ability to go, if they want to go play. They should be able to go play.
Hmm.
I've always been about the athlete first. That's just who I am.
Right.
Um, I do think there's times where it's being abused a little bit. And a lot of times people are, I've sat in every end of the year meeting with our coaches and player. A lot of times a player doesn't want to leave. They like Florida, but they're being forced and pressured to leave to go somewhere else
Yep.
because of external people. So um, that's where it gets really difficult, and it happens way more probably than you think. Um, so the portal can be good and bad at the same time.
So, Dave, when you think about your career, I'm gonna shift this a little again, and I'm sorry I'm doing this, but you have so much information that I want people to hear. But what do you say to the kid from southeastern Indiana? I'm a force you to be a little do some self reflection. What do you say to the kid from southeastern Indiana that has an opportunity to get out and have a career like yours and see the world? When you look at it now, where so many kids, they don't even think about leaving the town that they're in. Talk a little bit about you taking a leap of faith and leaving, and how that's worked out for you.
Yeah, I think first and foremost you have to surround yourself with good people,
Mhm.
and I think some of the teachers that I had at South Ripley, I think we had a guy named Mr. Sutherland, Larry Sutherland, that was our history teacher. That every week, it was I think it was like every Friday he had a current affairs, and so he taught us that there's life outside of southeastern Indiana.
Hmm.
And it could be completely different now. Like this was I graduated high school in 1987. I'm sure with all the technology, it's different now. But at that point, like that's kind of all we knew was
Yeah.
was for sales and Batesville and Greensburg and Lawrenceburg because they had a McDonald's, right? Like that was the nearest McDonald's. So we drove 25 miles, Leon, for some chicken nuggets, man. So 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 there just wasn't this you didn't have all the stuff you have now to even understand what's going on. But a couple teachers I thought our coach at the time, Bob Meyer, who was I look back at him now, I think this guy should have been a college coach. He was just terrific.
Hmm.
His knowledge, the way he pushed us. Uh, he always felt like all of us could be more than we probably thought we could be at that time. Um,
Yeah.
so then I was just really, really lucky and blessed that I got around some really good people that helped me, and I think all of us should, I know for me, my whole thing is trying to give back to try to help people that have given to me. Right.
Right.
And I know I'm just kind of a country guy from for sales. I've never looked at myself any differently, but other than the fact I know a lot of people that have really, really helped me and put, and, 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 and gave me opportunities that, I either did or didn't deserve, but it's because of everyone that's helped me and what I've been able to do.
Dave, if you hadn't become an athletic trainer, what would you be doing today?
Yeah, man, I don't know because that's the only thing I've ever done. I literally, I probably would have stayed, somewhere in Indiana, and I don't know what I would have. I don't know. Probably a teacher. I would
Yeah.
imagine I'd be teaching and trying to coach, and just helping young people. That would be. I think that's what it would have ended up. I got my K through 12 teaching certificate at uh, at Eastern Kentucky. I actually did my student teaching at Lexington Lafayette.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there in Lexington, and which had more people in the school than our whole town did. And for sales, I think 9 through 12 they had 2,200 people, and I think we were pushing about 1,800 for sales at the time. So,
Wow.
but that was a great experience. But that's probably at the end. I'd probably be teaching high school.
Now, in the open, Dave, you mentioned a new job, a new set of responsibilities there at the University of Florida. Talk to us a little bit about uh, the position, basketball administrative oversight. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, that is at our level. You have your athletic director, right? He's
Okay.
over the whole deal, and then you have all associate athletic directors and a whole assistant athletic directors and the whole deal. So every sport has a kind of a pseudo athletic director over each sport, and
Okay.
they call it administrative oversight over the sport. So I'll be out of the training room, and I'll have that position with men's basketball here at Florida, which is more just making sure the program is running probably the way it needs to be running. Much more involved with coaching contracts. It's more the business side, Terrence.
Hmm.
Coaching contracts, TV contracts, scholarship stuff, everything from the business side of how the program runs.
Okay.
Um, that's pretty much what that job will do. I'm really excited for it, actually.
Man,
Well,
so this is like a whole new world for you.
It is. But as I've done this, the business side of athletics, I've gotten more interested in, Leon,
Yeah.
and I think I'll get to do that with this. I mean, I don't know who was doing it at Kentucky. I know what's the guy, the AD at DePaul now, Peavy, is that his?
Peavy. Yeah, Dwayne
Yeah, I
Peavy.
know he did it for a while. I've gotten to meet him. He's a really great dude. And we'll see where that leads me. But I'm excited for it with the changes coming down the road here in athletics, and to kind of face that challenge.
Yeah, good.
now, when you talk about the business side, Will that then pull you into the world of NIL in any shape, form, or fashion?
Yeah, I'll be in the middle of that. I'll be in the middle of that and trying to deal with our collective, I'm sure. I don't know if you guys know, but I think we're in for another kind of seismic uh, change in college athletics with revenue sharing.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't. Hopefully, this is what I think is going to happen. If I'm wrong, I don't want your listeners like bombing my house or anything. But I think what's going to happen is, there's going to be revenue sharing as soon as possibly next season. Which means they've done a lot of work on this already, but it's going to be anywhere from $22 to $25 million that schools are paying out now to athletes. Some people don't know the NIL none of that money is coming from the school itself. That's all the collectives and the actual NIL is coming from outside the school. But now the schools themselves are going to be responsible for payment. I think it's good for a lot of our sports because I think all sports will be full scholarship now.
Wow.
I know you had talked a little bit there. I think maybe with Tom about the 11.7 for baseball. I think that will change to everyone will be on scholarship in all sports.
Wow.
With roster limits though, I think baseball can have, sometimes 35 to 40 players. I think the rosters will be smaller. I think it will be probably 30. But I think all those 30 kids will be on scholarship. So the NIL, I think, will end up being a real NIL of what they hoped it would be from the beginning. Where they're actually they're making money on name, image, and likeness is what that was supposed to be about. It turned into really a pay for play, to be honest with you.
Right.
But I think the NIL will be now. They're looking at having a third party. That would have to agree upon any NIL deals before they're executed. There's a contractual agreement. So if somebody wanted to get money from Batesville Chevrolet for their, for NIL, and they'd have to do 10 appearances or a TV commercial or whatever, that would now have to be approved by a third party company. So changes are really coming down the road, different than we've ever seen before.
And what does bringing Texas and Oklahoma, how does that influence some of these changes?
Yeah, that's two really good teams. It's going to make it harder for the Gators, I can tell you that. Really good programs all around. Texas just won the national all sports. They actually have an all sports trophy for all the universities. Texas won that this year. We were actually fourth. Tennessee was third. So 3 of the top 4s were from 3 of the top 4 teams, all sports combined with finishes. 3 of the top 4 were SEC teams. So I think the success means more revenue from TV, and the ESPN contract that we have continues to rise. Which schools are going to need now? They're going to have to come up with another 23 million that they haven't had to share before. So it's a different day.
Wow. Well, Dave, listen, the information that you've shared with us today has been insightful, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed busting your chops a little bit too here and there, but no, we really want to thank you for taking the time out and talking to us. Obviously, you got a lot going on down there in Florida and a lot to do, and it means a lot that you would spend a little time with us.
No, man, I really appreciate it. I'll be honest with you. I really, really appreciate being on. And like I said, I've listened to you all. Which I think you guys are really providing an invaluable service to the area of having different people from around the country being able to share information with people in southeastern Indiana. And I really think it's great what you guys are doing.
Well, I appreciate
Hey, Dave, you need to help us get more people from IU and Purdue. It's almost like, trying to get to them is like trying to get to the president of the United States.
Leon, we'll talk. I'll help you.
Thank you.
I would actually really like to help you get some people on. So
thank you.
Well,
yes.
Good. Well, Dave, since you've listened to a few episodes, you know how we end this thing. We end it with our one hitter quitter. I'm going to ask you one question. hard hitting in nature. And yes, you have to answer. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready. Bring it on, Terrence.
Okay. University of Florida men's basketball. Give me the win-loss record for this next coming season.
Woo, Terrence, man, now you're going right at my paycheck. Let's see. We won 25 games last year. I'm going to go with. Let's see. I like our team right now. I'm going to go with 27 wins. 27 and 10.
Okay,
Right
that
around
gets you.
there.
That gets you to an SEC championship.
Yeah, that gets us to the second weekend of the tournament and a few wins in the SEC tournament. I like that. 27 and 10, Terrence. That's,
All right.
that's
Well,
what I'm sticking with you.
Again, we're gonna follow up with you and see how that turns out.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right, Dave. Listen, much success. Good luck in with the new job and the new digs. Hopefully, you do get that window, and we'll be keeping an eye out on Florida and see how things go for you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys. It's been great.
Dave, thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.